Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Sabrina Daly.
And I'm Dwayne Moody. And of course, it's a Tuesday.
Yes.
And I have to say, this morning I woke up really, really good. It was nice, Sabrina. That rain last night just,
It rained last night?
Yes, it did. Well, this morning after 1 a.m., it rained for about 20 minutes.
I was making my last turn, Dwayne.
And it was good, Sabrina. It was nice.
Wow.
It made the night so cool because the heat has been on.
Yeah, I know. And I know that you particularly welcome the showers of blessings. So
Of course.
I'm happy for you this morning. I mean, I got up this morning. I didn't notice if the grass was wet from rain or if it was just dew.
Yes,
I don't know,
yes,
but
it was.
regardless, I'm hoping that it brings about a cooler day today because last week it's been really, really hot.
Listen, either you want to stay in the office in the air conditioning, or if you're at home, you have that fan turn on. You don't have your fan turn on and right in your face, sure?
Unfortunately, it was so hot last week that never really do anything for me either. So what I tend to do when it's really, really hot and I don't want to turn on the AC, because Dwayne, around that time they really question, do I want this bill or do I want this pool? I mean, current gratification for a later like $50 extra, maybe not really worth it. So I drink a cup of cold water.
How do you guys stay cool at home? Because honestly, the heat is on. And so what do you do at home to stay cool? Because honestly, I start to sweat at home and I automatically jump up and I go bathe. Because it's like I need to cool down.
Yeah, but what happens when the water that comes out is warm?
No, well,
what happens then?
Set it to cold. Set the water to cold.
Dwayne, I know everybody got hot and cold water, Dwayne.
No, I'm not saying
You know
hot and
the
cold
average
water.
person. The average person has what water comes out, that's what you get.
That's
and the
what-
water that comes out on hot days, sometimes that
Warm.
hot.
I know, I understand.
Set
but-
it to cool.
Yes, I listen. Well, it's like I have this simple shower head where you switch the temperature. If you want it hot, you want it room temperature, you want it warm. And like set that thing to warm or to room temperature, and then just let that cold water
Not
run
everyone
on your
has
back.
that luxury, Dwayne.
But that's
I
not a
have the
luxury.
shower heads that the Lord gives you what the Lord gives you on that day. And on hot days, we pray for cooler water. Either way, though, of course, we recommend that you stay hydrated, you stay indoors.
Yeah, we'll get to the weather later.
We'll get to that. But, I mean, we just had to talk about how nice the weather was. I mean, Dwayne, while on my way coming to work this morning, I found myself really enjoying the sunrise, too, and I realized that was something that I never spoke about as much, because doing these morning shows, I leave my house sometimes, it's still dark, it still looks like night, and I have the ability to watch the sunrise while coming to work, and I think that's really beautiful, and that's something that I never really acknowledged and showed gratitude for, because I'm starting my day with the sun. And that was really nice. Of course, the weather was nice too. I always talk about seeing persons exercising, and I always question when I could do something like that. But
it's interesting because I'm not a morning person, and
but look at our jobs, so we make it work.
But no, I'm an owl. If anybody knows me, I'm an owl. I can be up and I'm pumped and ready. Like most of the times, I do my cleaning in the night.
Really?
Yeah, because that's when my energy is up. I'm pumped and let's go, and I can go straight through till 2 o'clock, and then afterwards I crash, and then you sleep, and then wake up 7, 8. Good time.
Wow, Dwayne, we share that in common. So I'll tell you this. So this is a story time, guys. So I too am an owl, and I always talk about not being a morning person. Fortunately, though, I feel like I've been able to adapt. But yes, so while going to university and being online, I would stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm pumped. And after I'm done taking, my practice quizzes with my classmates, I want to go clean my kitchen, and I want to, I have all this energy. So I can stay up until 3 o'clock, but I will not wake up 3 o'clock in the morning. I will not wake up.
Unless it's for a trip. Listen, we do this still. I think when we were kids and growing up, anytime you had a school trip, you can't sleep the night. You wake up, like all parts of the night. All parts of the night you're waking up because you don't want to miss the bus. You don't want to miss that trip, right? And so it's like, if it's then, of course you're going to wake up. I know you have to come, like at least for today, I knew I had to come to the morning show. So I set my alarm and, 4 o'clock I was up.
Yeah,
and getting ready and all of that. And so I walked around the house, everything, I'm sitting down in the hall, literally just watching the walls. Because I don't want
If they only know the lives we live.
Right? And so it's like, that happens. But generally, I'm not a morning person. I'm miserable in the morning. It's like, give me until 9:30, maybe 10. That's when, I'm myself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that we have a community that can relate to that. If you are not a morning person, let us know in the comments so we can have our support group.
I like that.
Nonetheless, though, we are happy to be here, and we're happy to have you here with us wherever you are, locally, abroad, in your cars, at home still, having that first cup of coffee like me and Dwayne. We are almost now coffee drinkers completely. We're happy to have you with us here, however you start your morning right.
Yeah.
Now, Dwayne, there's not much lighter topics that I've been seeing buzzing other than sports. I think I saw the Celtics lose last night, but I know nothing about basketball, so I will not pretend. I will say, though, that I've always rode with Celtics, even though I don't know a single member on the team. But I ride with them.
But on the local scene, the BBL is, the playoffs, it's on.
My team also lost too, by the way.
I'm so sorry.
I don't know. I don't want to say the name of my team.
They have time to make up.
How?
At least, I'm assuming so. They do. How many more games they have?
I don't know, but all I know is they lost the game, the one game I went to. I mean,
on Friday, right? I'm sorry, on Friday, it's on Friday night.
Yes.
I know who's their team.
It's okay, guys. Anyways, but I saw something really interesting on TikTok over the weekend. And of course, TikTok is a really trending app where everyone uses. It's probably even more trending than YouTube and Instagram these days. And of course, Belizeans have their following as well. But it was a really interesting video because it's something that I never heard of before. And it was someone posting a video of a place that they found down south that is supposedly an old prison.
Okay.
And I thought that was really, really interesting. And I just want to know, maybe persons in the comments, do you recognize this place? If you do, could you write, some information in the comments? Because I think it's really interesting that we never really heard of it before.
It's saying 10 cells?
Yeah, we always only know the old prison to be the one by SCA, right?
Which is now the Museum of Belize. But, it's interesting. Is this even true,
exactly.
Right? We know that we've seen there are some colonial houses still in Belize that once had slaves, and that we can still see some of the chains that used to be, the shackles the shackles that used to be used. I know for a fact that the former location for studios on Regent Street to the back, there's this building that, well, it was a colonial home, it is a colonial home, and to the back you can see the remnants of what was part of the slavery, But this seems completely different.
Yeah, this is something I never heard of before, and exactly, it does seem modern.
Right? It's concrete walls with burglar bars. And I'm not sure, did we have a prison down south? at some point?
I don't know. I mean, even if it was like a really big police station, I don't even
don't
know that either.
I'm not sure.
10 cells is a lot.
Yeah, it is. Does anybody know about this? If this is the case, like, please.
Yeah, let us know. It could be a story.
Yeah, I know. Maybe it's part of our history that's being lost there. Maybe we can do something. It's interesting, though.
There's a Belize on Reel for you.
I love that.
So we do know that some persons from down south they posted on the TikTok video saying that, you know, it was indeed a prison from down south, but I don't know. I mean, I don't even recognize where exactly the location is. So I think it would be interesting to investigate this particular topic and find out further, because there's some history we don't really know of.
Yeah, interestingly, because as far as we know, outside of the cells where at police stations, located at police stations across the country, there is only one prison in Belize, and it's a central prison that is located in Hattieville and managed by Kobe Foundation. Outside of that, I don't know that we had any other facility, but again, we have comments saying that it is true, so
yeah,
let's see.
Yeah, because I even wonder about the property. Is it owned by the government?
Is it a private property?
Yeah, or is it private? I don't know. That's interesting.
It is.
All right, well, as we mentioned before, we've just been scrolling online and just searching for things that you, our viewers, particularly find interesting, and that was one of them that stood out to me. Aside from that, I know that the topic is sports, and we're always looking for something entertaining to do. So if you are considering the arts, stay tuned, because we have some auditions coming up for KTV The Remix. And every day we tease it, and every day we are going to continue teasing it until June 3rd and June 11th, because it's KTV The Remix season. Of course, we all enjoy this show. I mean, even persons here that are involved behind the scenes, and of course you, the viewers. But we want to remind you that auditions are coming up, and if you are looking for a sign, this is that sign to audition either in person or online. You can, of course, submit online submissions where you would be preparing a 2-minute video and submitting it to our producer at channel5belize.com, or you can DM KTV The Remix on Facebook. Of course, the deadline for those online submissions as well is June 11th.
I would suggest for you guys to come out on June 3rd and June 11th to audition. Please, you must understand that of all the submissions that will take place virtually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there's only one that will be selected. And
really?
So,
I didn't know
that.
Yes,
and so I encourage you, come out and audition. The online is an opportunity for those who may not be able to make it for whatever reason, but if you can, make your way to our studios for the auditions. Again, it is going to be a fun year. We're trying to make sure that it is as exciting as it has always been, with some little twists and turns. We know that people are ready to audition. I know at least 5 persons who reached out to me just last week saying that they're coming to audition, and I'm telling you, it's always fun. I normally come for the auditions and in the background and listening and all of that, because I'm telling you, these people who come out to audition, they're nervous even from then, right? But it's all fun to see these persons come and give their best, and of course, at the end, they decide who will make it onto the live stage and the live shows. But it is something for everybody. Again, the age range, it starts from 16 and up, and you can audition for KTV The Remix 2023. It's going to be fun, Sabrina.
Yeah,
so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, I just realized, Dwayne, we are at the end of May, so the first audition is this Saturday.
Yes.
Get those voices warmed up and ready. We are excited to see you here at our studios to audition for KTV The Remix, the latest season. But of course, we are going into the official weather announcement.
Before we go there, so I just received a message. It was a prison.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's Lynham Prison in Stan Creek. William just texted me and told me that.
Okay.
It's Lynham Prison in Stan Creek. Yeah, so it's a little bit of history. We need to, I think that is a Belize Unreal.
I think so too.
Sabrina.
Because a lot of us didn't know about it.
Yeah, right? And so definitely we know that's a part of our history. It's down south in Stan Creek. We're going to look into that.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I think so. Well, there you have it. We literally found out a Belize Unreal right on the show live.
Thank you, guys.
But of course, as I mentioned, we are going to be getting some information from the National Meteorological Service on what we can expect this morning through the end of the week. Good morning. We have with us a forecaster Wellington.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you guys?
We are great. Nice to have you with us here online. How are you doing?
I'm doing great as well.
All right. So what kind of weather can we expect today?
Okay. We'll continue to see hot conditions. We'll continue to see isolated showers and isolated thunderstorms.
Love the showers.
But we'll be seeing these mostly this afternoon, this evening, and tonight.
Okay. So cool off the night. Any advisories or watches?
Okay, because of the maximum temperatures, we are going for 89 along the coast, 99 inland, 77 up in the mountains. Because of that 99 and 89, we again are issuing the heat alert and advising people to stay hydrated and avoid outdoor activities as much as possible.
All right. Do you have a general outlook through to Wednesday?
Okay, for Wednesday and Wednesday night, we are seeing similar weather conditions. We continue to see the high temperatures. We continue to see the showers and thunderstorms. The trend is for afternoon, evening, and nighttime.
All right. All right. Well, we appreciate that later in the evening anyways. Any marine condition updates?
Okay, currently, in terms of meteorology, we are saying we have a slack pressure gradient over our area. So if you've been noticing, we have very light winds.
Okay.
Coming from the east and southeast, 5 to 10 knots. And the new famous saying is slight seas. Because, you know, it used to be light chop to choppy. Now it's slight seas.
Slight seas.
That's right.
All right.
Someone told me slight myth.
Okay.
Ms. Francisca, how are you in terms of enjoying the weather? We know that the hurricane season, we're what, 2 days away from the start?
That's right.
Are we going to see rains anytime soon? Because they're like, we need it.
Careful what you wish for, Dwayne.
Say that again, please. I didn't hear you clearly.
No, he was just saying that, you know, we really are looking forward to the showers. So in terms of,
okay,
in terms of more rain.
Well, we've been watching that it's coming in slowly, and most like I explained, night times, evening night times, and we're seeing a trend that's coming in from like over Mexico side, Mexico, Guatemala, moving from that area towards the coast. It has been happening since the past week.
All right.
And it will continue so again. Yeah.
And lastly, on the topic of hurricanes, since we're going into the hurricane season, we mentioned that this year is an El Nino year. Do we expect any extra hurricane activities this year?
According to the experts, we're seeing near normal, meaning 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, and 3 to 4 major hurricanes. Right. That would be in the norm.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, forecaster Wellington. We appreciate the information, the updates as always, and we hope that you have a great day today.
Yeah.
Thank you. Same to you guys.
All
Enjoy.
Right. Bye. I think there was some really good news coming out from that just now, Sabrina. Guys, it's going to be cool at night.
Yeah.
We are sleep and not sweat. I tell you, I can't sweat when I sleep. You know, my guys be like, oh, it doesn't work. Yeah. You know, so I love the cool weather, like, you know, showers, the rain, thunderstorms. To me, it makes good for sleep. You know, yeah. I love that.
As long as we have no power outages, I am totally fine. Because there was a hard like storm that came in on Friday evening, Friday night. Yeah. And that really reminded me of like a hurricane. Shoot, I mean, I didn't pack my canned food, you know. But of course, I welcome the rain as long as I'm indoors and not outdoors. I could do it at night, just not during the day when we have to be busy.
No, remember that, you know what, the hurricane season is starting in the next 2 days. And so make sure that at home you have your plan in place, simply to ensure that, you know what, you have some of the basic supplies, just in the event that, you know what, something happens, you're not being caught, you know, with your pants down.
Yeah, exactly.
So please, like, it's just now to just, you know, check your hurricane plans and ensure that everything is in place. You know, your flashlights, your batteries, your radio, your battery power radios, just so that you have everything, right? And of course, you know, Channel 5 will be here to guide you through the process.
I mean, I'll tell you guys, last year we did the coverage of the hurricane, and
Lisa,
that was such an experience for me particularly. A lot of people don't know we slept here. Well, I slept here, right in this studio. I brought a blow-up bed and I slept in Open Your Eyes. It was such a long, long day, but you know, the things you do for the job that you love and to, of course, provide you guys with information. We will go above and beyond every time to give you, you know, accurate and trustworthy information. But yeah, that's it. We're going into the hurricane season again and crossing our fingers that nothing happens.
Yeah, it's supposed to be an average season, like Miss Francesca said. It's 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes. Hopefully none comes our way. But yeah, those are some of the details. Yeah. So.
All right. Well, of course, we are moving into our eye opener this morning, and it's taken from DailyOn.com, and it goes like this. Before bed each night, take the time to review your day and review the gifts you received. When we have good days, we often find ourselves going over the details later, enjoying them a second and third time as we feel the joy of our good fortune. When we have bad days, we find ourselves poring over the details of our misfortunes. However, we can reframe those bad days by making it a daily practice to spend some time before going to bed each night to review the gifts we received that day. Regardless of our evaluation of the day, whether good, bad, or mediocre, we can call forth the many blessings that were present. This practice transforms our consciousness as it reveals the fullness at the heart of our lives. Just reviewing the many positive offerings in our lives provides a context for our difficulties that puts them in proper perspective. But we can also make an effort to see the gifts even in adverse circumstances. This can be challenging and may require some practice before it feels authentic. But we have all had the experience of a disappointment or loss leading to a surprise gain. Just remembering this and trusting the give and take of life can help us to remember that sometimes the best gifts of all are the ones we don't recognize right away. In addition, the lessons we learn in the face of adversity are offerings in their own right, allowing us to count patience, wisdom, and fortitude alongside the other gifts of the day. I love this eye-opener, Dwayne. I love them all, but I love this one particularly because I think it goes back to what I mentioned this morning of realizing that I never really took in the appreciation of the sunrise. You know, I often am complaining while going to work, I can't believe I'm up so early going to work. But then I often miss the good in the process, you know, and that is one, being awake, being up, you know, another day, having life, being able to work, to make money, to survive on my own, and to see the sunrise in the process, to start the day in such a calm and peaceful way where the city isn't alive as yet, you know, there's no real movement happening apart from persons that already started their day very early, which is few. But for me, that is what I took away from it. And of course, I love that it mentioned that in times of adversity, it's hard to see the good because, of course, we're just focusing on what bad is happening. But it's important to remember that a lot of times if you look in the past, there are good things that come from those adversities.
Yeah.
What did you take from it?
For me, I agree with you completely, but I also felt like it goes back to that saying where, you know, when one door closes, another one opens, or, you know, one door may close on you at this time, but then there's a window there. And so you need to start to look at obstacles in life as, you know what, they're springboards for something else. That if you did not get something, it doesn't mean that you didn't deserve it. It means that you are going to get something even bigger or better.
Yeah.
You know, stop looking at the negative things and adversities and obstacles as something bad. Look at it as a challenge to want to do better, to go to another level, right? I love this eye-opener. Like you said, you know what? I love all of them, but this one is particularly really ringing with me because, you know, just recently I felt that, you know what, I reached a roadblock and I didn't know what to do. And then I realized that, no, this is an opportunity for me to, you know, go beyond, see what, if I can come out of this obstacle, even a better person.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes it's always good to reflect. And that's what it opened with, to say, you know what, sometimes you need to sit back and just reflect on what is going on in your life, the good, the bad, and then see how you can change it. Because you can't carry on that negativity with you. You have to let it go. And you need to think positive. And sometimes when you stop and just look at it, you realize that, oh man, I never need to react that way.
Yeah.
I need to change the way how I react to people. Because at the end of the day, you can't stop people from reacting to you. You know, you can only change yourself or your reaction to how they perceive things, you know? And so I like that. For you guys at home, is it the same? Like, do you think about that? When you go home, you just, you know, before you go to bed, you just think about, man, this my day gone good, my day gone bad, but you know what? This isn't the end all of everything, you know? At times I just go, I reach home, you have a bad day, go, you take a bath, you know, go and lay down, sleep, tomorrow, let's go.
Yeah.
Good to go again. You know?
I think too, though, it's to remember the power of the tongue. And I mean, whether you're a spiritual person of Christian values or you believe in other practices, it still comes back to the same thing. Because, you know, in the Christian faith, they also talk about the power of the tongue. And of course, in other religious or spiritual views, there's manifestation. So I personally believe if you speak positive or if you constantly look for the positive in your life, it will continue to come your way. And I know it's really hard, especially when something is not going your way, but just to find that one positive thing that's happening and really just be thankful for it, whether it's thanking God or thanking the universe. I think that is the step or the start in allowing that flow of more of that particular thing that you love to continue coming your way. I love this eye-opener.
Yeah, and then, guys, just to circle back a little on that prison video, I'm getting some additional information. Man, it's a reporter in Australia. Like, it's crazy, but apparently it was initially an all-boys agricultural school run by the Catholics.
What?
Yeah, yes, it was. And then I'm telling you, there's a lot of history to this building. And so it was initially an all-boys agricultural school run by the Catholics.
So
then
what's
it
up
ended
with
up
the jail
being,
cell windows?
Lynham Prison.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it
transitioned.
Dwayne, you have to leave with that
but
part.
that's what I said. I said it was initially. So I'm saying it started off as an all-boys agricultural school in the south, in Stan Creek, and then of course it became Lynham Prison, and now I'm guessing that it's abandoned. Right?
All right.
But yeah, anyways.
Dwayne, I almost had a heart attack.
Just had to give Like we're getting the information and might as well we share it with you.
Yeah.
So, right?
I mean, I love that. I definitely still think that it's a story. We can
I
further
think
get
it
more
is a
information.
story. I think
So,
it is a story, right? Something that most Belizeans don't know.
Exactly.
Maybe, so I like that.
But speaking of stories, we have 3 great discussions lined up for you in this morning's morning show. And the first one, we'll be joined by the Executive Director of the National Women's Commission, Michelle Irving, to talk to us about violence against our women.
Yeah, gender-based violence is a big thing. We've been seeing it of late, becoming a little bit more common. And so the discussion has to take place.
Yeah.
And we'll also be joined by a representative from the Belize Coast Guard to talk about the Coast Guard Wonder Woman Challenge. That began yesterday, and it will continue for 3 days total. Yeah.
All right, perfect. I'm actually excited about that conversation. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that news piece last night.
Yeah.
And lastly, we'll be joined by a representative from the Strawn Foundation to tell us about World Menstruation Hygiene Day. What do you know about that? We'll find out. We'll find out, of course, all these topics after the break. Dwayne, don't be wheezing beside me.
I'm not.
We all need to have this conversation. So I enjoy when we have, these topics on the show.
Yeah.
But of course, we're going to take our first break. And when we come back, we'll be talking about domestic violence.
Yeah.
Don't go away.
It's almost lunchtime and Alice is getting hungry and forgot to bring cash. She remembers that eCash now has a geolocation feature in which she can easily view the eCash merchants near her, especially restaurants. Her co-workers also ask her to order food for them.
Chicken chow mein, please, and a Coke.
The merchant sends her the payment link. She taps confirm, and within a few minutes, her food is delivered. Alice then views her transaction history and taps on the transaction recently made. Then taps the split the bill button where she selects the unevenly option and moves the bar to the desired amount per person. The request is then sent to her friends. Her colleagues accept the request and are ready to enjoy their meals. Geolocation and splitting the bill via eCash make Alice's life a whole lot easier.
Sign up for Smart Share Plan and save big. Whether you're a small entrepreneur starting up your business, a student on a limited budget, or a family trying to save, this is the plan for you. With unlimited SMS, calls, and data, we help you save. Get up to 5 lines for as low as $30 per line monthly, only with Smart. Sign up today at any Smart showroom or sales manager countrywide. So get your business going, share more memories with friends, and be ready for the day with Smart.
And now, the hottest match of the evening. Get ready for action! Here they come. Amazing! They're unstoppable, unbeatable. They have him on the ropes. The heat rises to the top. 1, 2, and 3. They're on fire. Chiladas. Fire up the taste of Belize with the new Chiladas crunchy tortilla taco chips in its hot chili flavor. Fiery habanero brings the heat. They're on fire. Chiladas. From Snackers, done right, done here.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5 Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano,
Marian Ali, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 police teams do whatever it takes, go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 believes on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, because news is now everywhere, all the time, and so are we.
And welcome back. We are having our first conversation of the morning, and of course, it's all about gender-based violence. We are joined by the Executive Director of the National Women's Commission, Ms. Michelle Irving, and we are happy to have you here with us. Good morning.
Thank you, and good morning. Good morning, Belize. I'm happy to be here, although the subject is a bit sobering. But nonetheless, I think sharing information and putting the topic in perspective is excellent. It's an excellent way to start.
I definitely agree with you. It's a sobering topic, but it's the constant flow of having these conversations on as many media platforms as possible is the start to, ending hearing these cases. So let's really talk about it then. You are the director of the National Women's Commission. Talk to us about the work that you do over at the Women's Commission.
Okay, the Women's Commission is a statutory body. It is comes under the Ministry of Human Development, Families, Indigenous and Indigenous People Affairs, and as well as it has commissioners that are the board, the guiding people behind the commission, and I am at the Secretariat that has a team that we focus on policy and advocacy. And of course, we understand that policy is very much needed to guide the work of what happens on the ground, and to have that what I refer to as vertical and horizontal flow of information, meaning what is happening on the ground come up and we see how we could address the issues in terms of ensuring that at the policy level, we have what it takes. We have those things in place to try our best to ensure the safety of our entire population, but more so to address the issues of gender inequality, gender equity, and women empowerment. And that is based on some of the historical reality of not having equal value for both boys and girls, women and men. And so that in itself creates a kind of imbalance that is often, violence is often used to ensure that those kinds of norms that our society have come to value and accept are kept in place. So, so I know that coming off the heels of hearing of quite a bit of women being killed or attempted to be killed, what we refer to as femicide, which is the most extreme form of gender-based violence that is rooted in gender discrimination, is we are seeing. However, I did a little bit of research, and being in the field, I know that this is nothing new. And sometimes we tend to, have a sensational way we look at things, because maybe what we're seeing here is a quick succession, I think. That's what we're seeing here at this time. However, looking at, I pulled some statistics in terms of the women that are murdered in Belize. For example, in 2017, there was 11. In 2018, 19. In 2019, 17, 2020 and 2021, 11. We still, 2022 and 2023 still ongoing to collect the information. And you have to remember that if there isn't a arrest, if there isn't a body that is found, there's still some numbers that are unaccounted for in the data, right? And so, So I wanted to point that out so that we could understand that this is an ongoing issue and an ongoing problem. And so at the Commission, we look at different laws that is based on protection, security, as it relates to the family. We network, we have an entire countrywide network of what we call gender and gender-based violence committees throughout the country that focuses on bringing together key stakeholders, including community-based organization, government line ministries, to look at the issues as it affects each district or each area, because as you could imagine, that the dynamics, they're different throughout the country. Belize is a very diverse place. However, you know, the laws are standard throughout, but the way it is, the way culturally we address the issue could be quite different.
You know, it's so interesting that you use that word, because I was going to ask, does culture play a role in how we identify, I want to say genders, but gender roles? Because I know that in certain cultural practices, the men are the ones in charge.
Yeah.
You either listen to what they have to say, or you know,
my way or the highway.
Exactly. And so we know that we have those kinds of, I guess, practices in certain communities that, hey, we see this as a norm. It's not, you know?
I would say it's along the line of the continuum, because you're right, in certain cultural contexts, it's very, very patriarchal, where where a lot of the total decision on the family and everything that would happen would based upon the man's viewpoint. There are some others areas where you more have that partnership in terms of what's the woman and the man, how they construct the family. And so, so those are some of the things, but basically the cultural norms that we continue to perpetrate is still the view that men are more valued than women. I use the word valued because sometimes we get mixed up with equity or equality. Men and women are not equal. Boys and girls are not equal, but they should be valued equally, right? And so, for example, you know, there are different biological roles. There are different, you know, things that women need different from men, and it should be looked at as saying, you know, well, we value our girls, we value our women, and so these things need to be in place to ensure that we're sending a message of equity and equality. And so, and the same goes vice versa, because gender roles also affect men and boys. The lack of support for emotional intelligence, for example, you know, you are being too soft, you're be too, and so it perpetuates a kind of a violent, meaning that that's a man way to handle things, or else you will be looked at as, you know, wimpy or not representing the family of manhood the way it should be. And so there are quite a bit of, for example, even the objectification and the sexualization of women, and those kinds of things also lead to the perpetration of certain type of violence that it seems acceptable.
I love that you mentioned that, Ms. Irving, because a lot of times when we think of domestic violence cases against women, we automatically assume physical harm. But I think it's important to mention that it does not start with an actual physical interaction with a person. There's a build-up to that. And of course, there's cycles until we get to the more extreme cases that could potentially lead to death. Could we talk about these cycles that are psychological, that you kind of groom your partner into an idea that this is a normal relationship?
Very good point. And you're right. Whenever we talk about violence, automatically we go to physical violence. And that's a given, that's one form. And I'm talking about in Belize, especially as it relates to our Domestic Violence Act. So you have physical violence, you have sexual violence, you have psychological slash emotional violence, which a lot of times verbal attacks are used, and different types of threats, intimidation, and things like that. And then there is economic violence in the context of our Domestic Violence Act. So oftentimes people would say, this is happening and nothing is being done. Well, the Domestic Violence Act first came out in the 90s and it was revised in 2007. And it's a very comprehensive piece of legal document that addressed the issues of gender-based violence slash domestic violence, violence in the home. And so there are orders that can be given, protection orders. Some people refer to it as restraining order. There are orders of maintenance. There are orders of tenancy. Tenancy order, that means if you live in a home and you are experiencing violence in that home, especially for the woman and the children, the person, if the man is the one perpetrating the violence, he has to leave. If he's the one paying the rent, he has to still continue pay the rent. That's a tenancy order, and vice versa. The law does not say women and men. The law talks about who is the perpetrator. All right, so we know that violence mostly affects women. 80% of the reports that we have are from women, but there are sometimes when men are affected, and sometimes with the different type of violence, right? So you would see more maybe psychological, emotional, verbal violence that maybe women would be perpetrating as opposed to maybe physical violence. So if you look at violence in a whole and the way how it affects the family, so those 4 types of violence, even if we talk about economic, it's based on the one who may be bringing in the money and how they control that money to control the family, especially to control their partner, right? So that's very important. And so when we ask what is in place, those things are there. The police have what we call the domestic violence unit that would give support to victims. But not only the domestic violence unit, anybody who is experiencing any one of these violence, even if it's not physical, can make a report to the police if they so choose. If not, they can go straight to the court and they could apply for the orders under the Domestic Violence Act. They don't have to go to the police and then go to the court. So if you feel that, well, you know what, I get enough of this, I will go straight to the court and apply for my orders, you can do that. There's also the Women and Family Support Department from out of the Ministry of Human Development. There's an office in every district. They have what we call a Women's Development Officer. That was my career before I am here. And so I am quite familiar with what happened. And so it's to walk the victim through what is available to support and to advocate for the victim, you know, whatever is needed. There is also the issue of medical care that is sometimes needed, both psychological and physical care, depending on what type of violence is being perpetrated. And so one of the key partners is also the Ministry of Health. So Ministry of Education, because sometimes some of the reports come from school. Children go to school and say what happened in their home, or sometimes children are being abused. And a part of this is also child abuse when we talk about gender-based violence.
Ms. Michelle, you spoke about having these avenues where people can go and make their reports or to at least get some level of assistance. But is the data that has been collected the true idea of what is happening out there? And I say this because I know that there are still some people out there who they're suffering in silence, and they've, for some reason, they have this fear of coming out and saying, hey, I have this issue and I need help.
I have to say that this is a very, very, very difficult issue. it's an issue that I was looking at some survey yesterday, and they were saying that like 37, almost 40% of men believe that this is a private issue and no one should get involved, and about 27% of women. So less women, but more men feel that it's a private issue. So the perpetrator might also have that nobody will help you, nobody will assist you, you know, you will feel ashamed, you will feel afraid. You have to remember that the most violent time for death or killing is also when you are attempting to leave, because these issues are issues of power and control. And so I want to mention here also that there are avenues for safe houses throughout the country. Of course, you know, there is not a lot of detail given as far as the issue of that is concerned, but through the avenues, especially through the women's department and through the police department, there are ways where you could offer safety.
Ms. Irving, I want to go back to something that you mentioned that really stuck out to me, because it's a question that I wanted to ask, and that was the 30% of persons believing that it's a private matter. And as Dwayne mentioned, there are persons suffering in silence, but there are also persons that are in a domestic situation with their partners, and people know, their loved ones know, their friends know, the general public know. Why is it that we tend to indeed believe that it is a private matter?
So you talk about culture, right? And changing cultural norms. It's very hard. And so there was a time when it was considered a private matter. That's the fact. Whatever happened within the home stays within the home, and whosoever the tyrant in there affecting the family, there was no intervention, and that's where we went. So you know that through especially, and not only, but especially through the women's movement, the agitation, you know, in the 80s, the Beijing Convention, the Convention to Eliminate All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, the CEDAW Convention, there was an international outcry that speaks to address this issue not as a private matter, but as a public health issue, as a public matter, a human rights issue. It's one of the world's greatest violation of human rights. And so then the movement took off, and then we say, you know, there is an intervention that is necessary. However, culturally, we still tend to think it's a private matter. It's shrouded in shame, you know, especially even things like sexual abuse, if you could imagine, even more so. So you might get, so the report is severely to answer your question, it's underreported. It's severely underreported. The other thing that happens is that sometimes the understanding of the dynamics, like you talk about the cycle of violence, is not so much in the intervention. So those who are probably intervening is wanting to push you to maybe leave the relationship or get this or do that, but you are not psychologically ready, you are not able, there's a lot of other issues that is going on with you. And so maybe if you report one time and you go back to the perpetrator, you will feel afraid or ashamed to go and report again, because then they will look at you as not really wanting to solve this situation. And so those are some of the things that also affects people, and so they don't want to. But I like to tell people that, you know, I was reading a study one day, and especially in the Caribbean, sometimes it takes 8 to 10 tries for leaving before you could actually leave. And so we need to remember that. Service providers need to remember that when we are working with people, that sometimes this will happen, and we have to support you where you are. And so those are some of the things when we talk about training, policies, and understanding the dynamics of abuse, that we want to ensure that our citizens understand, and we all have the empathy and support, because sometimes they are left she right there, she like it. Or those kinds of comments that are being placed. So even friends, family, like you say, would not want to intervene, because they feel that if they intervene, you might just not do what they expect you to do. Remember?
It makes me think about that phrase, you know, if they don't beat me, they don't love me. You understand?
So love is associated with violence.
Associated with violence. I know a few persons who have survived domestic violence and managed, and when I say survived, is that they've managed to get out of the abusive relationship before it goes too far, right? Do you have any data to speak to that, to the successes of seeing someone get out of those kinds of situations?
You know, that's a very good question. And you know, we collect data on, you know, who go to the police to report, who goes to the court to report, who, you know, the violent situations, you know, but we don't really maybe focus on the survivors, where they are, how they were managed to, how they managed to survive, what was the greatest, and that might be some good research, because what was the thing that really propelled them to leave? Was it interaction with psychosocial support? So then we knew that we could do more of that. Was it interaction in terms of safety and security, the police? So we knew that we could do more of that. Was it the courts? You know, did that really work? Was it good friends, good network? What really worked? So that's a good, we have a lot of students doing social work and stuff like that. That would be good to do a research on, but to be honest with you, I don't have that information or don't know where that is, like to say, you know, survivors, these are survivors, this is all, because after you survive, you don't really go back and report to nobody and say, I can't tell you that I survived. You might just know it within the context of your relationships, you know, but that's a very good, like I said, could be a very good research to look at, so that we could then be better able to put in policies and advocate for interventions that could lean towards saying what supported survivors. And I think that probably they're through simple, the same Women's Department, we could look at through the years how many people that came through the door were able to survive and how they were able to do it and what type of support they had in place. And so, and then we could look at that picture a bit more clearly.
Because I think they become like the walking testimonials of, you know, that everybody can come out of that abusive relationship and survive. I have a particular friend who, she was a victim. She came out of it. And I think the breaking point was when the last time she ended up in the hospital, and it was, they said, if you had continued with this abuse, you would have died. And that was like the turning point for her. Now she is in a different relationship. Years after, she's in a different relationship. She has the standards that she's looking for. So, you know, her partner now is, she's not going to allow anybody to beat down on her anymore. And it has to be from, you know, a mutual perspective, equal, you know, valuing each other and all of that. And so I think there is where the conversation needs to go. Like, you don't have to think that you have to stay in a kind of relationship.
So it's a good, not to cut you, but it's a good part for the media to play, for us to then, for you to then look at, we are talking from the service side, from the policy side, from the advocacy side, but talking from the survivor. When you were talking, I was thinking about, rest in peace, Tina Turner.
I was literally going to mention her as
so
well.
I think she is like a poster person for surviving domestic violence or gender-based violence. So, so those are some of the conversations we should have, though, to give people hope. Because, but sometimes, a lot of times, what happened with victims who have now turned survivors, sometimes it's very difficult, the trauma, to go back there. And so sometimes you understand that just in the context of friendship, they would share. Because then too, there is also some of the cultural norms. I'll give you one example. And there was a killing, the killing in Ladyville, where the partner and the brother was killed by the brother. And if you look at under the news items that the comments that people made, were so negative and brash. And it was like, well, she deserved it, you know. That's what I interpreted. Let me say that the way how it was being said on social media, not knowing the circumstances, not knowing what is going on, you know. And so there's also the level of justification of violence within our society. And so we have to take a level of responsibility. And so then when it gets now, when we see now it became, and I was looking, because people, I was looking at some of the same persons that were justifying it in one area, and then afterwards when it became a 19-year-old attempted this, you know, when it became more and more within the space of a week, people were like, well, what are you doing? What are the women's organization doing? What are people doing? But we have to ask ourselves, what are we doing? What are we doing? Because if we on one hand justify and make excuses, and then on the other hand we wonder that somebody have to come in and help us or save us, we all have to understand that this is wrong and it shouldn't be happening on any level.
Yeah.
And
like
so
double standards.
it's like double and even if your partner is cheating, right? And if you want to say they're cheating with your brother, that people might seem so sensationalized, then there is a solution for that. You walk away from that relationship. You cannot justify killing someone and people also then support that justification or harming someone.
Yeah.
So I go back to changing these cultural norms and all of that. It has to start at a younger age.
Correct.
Because it's how we raise our boys. Mm-hmm. It's how we raise our girls. The conversations that we have with them in terms of what their roles are. Mm-hmm. You're not just a housewife, mm-hmm. or you're not just a child bearer. Mm-hmm. You are also an equal. You're mm-hmm. also a breadwinner. Mm-hmm. You're also a leader. Mm-hmm. You know, and it goes for both mm-hmm. sides. It's not only women.
Yes.
And it's because a lot of times people feel, and we've heard it, people feel that, oh, because would they support women, this is all about women, what about men? Mm-hmm. No, I believe that there is space for men. The conversation is not only about women, but mm-hmm. for the most part, women have been primarily the ones affected. Yes. But men play a role in this as well. And you need to understand that, oh, you know what, you can't beat up on nobody, you don't want anybody beat up on your mom. You know, like things like that, to like shock them. They're like, hey. And so it's like, how do you change the conversation from the young age?
I agree. I think that that's why the Ministry of Education is so important. And not only that, how do we not perpetuate those gender norms even within our systems? You know, boy put up this and girl sweep. Just for example, those are clear gender norms, because you know, sometimes we don't see the messages that we're sending, but they're pretty much there. And that's just to say one thing. There are many other. And so being able to work with, for example, the Ministry of Education to look at curriculums, and I think that they're pretty much on board in ensuring that we have gender equity and equality outlook as it relates to how we talk to our boys and how we talk to our girls. Now, I know it's very difficult at the individual level, the family level. And so that's why we need to look at it maybe at the educational level, because that's where we have the mass socialization, right? The secondary socialization. So I would say even to ensure that these kinds of conversations are happening at the preschool level, because children are very smart and they can tell you what happened. Sometimes they will even come and give you the story. I remember one person told me that the little preschooler said, well, daddy beat mommy last night with a belt. Tell you what happened in the family, and obviously they're actually saying, I'm traumatized because this is what is happening. And so, however, you know, how do you cope with those kinds of report, and where do you place those things as it relates to then equally valuing both boys and girls?
I think the overall message to our viewers is for them to know that we understand that cases of domestic violence, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, psychological, sexual, economical, we know that it comes with shame, but it's also important to recognize that these types of violence affects everyone. It carries no bias. It doesn't go to the poorer class of women, black women. It's everywhere, and that's important. And I think that's a point where once we acknowledge that, we can remove some of that shame.
Correct.
Because even higher class women, more economically stable women, are
career
in
women,
domestic violence situations.
Correct.
And a lot of times, those are the ones that carry even more shame because they're expected to hold themselves at a standard, and that is why they sit in silence or they hold on to that privately. So I really think that it's important for us to share that message with our viewers as well. Of course, we are wrapping things up, and this conversation can really go on and on.
And I just want to add one thing to what you said, because you said excellent. I also want to say that apart from all the categories that you mentioned, that you have to remember that this violence affects even the neighborhood. When you hear the screams coming out of a house, right, that you don't know what to do, it traumatizes your household, right? You feel helpless. You feel that you can't do something. You feel that sometimes you call the police, sometimes they come, they may not come. I remember one time, you know, someone told me when the police came, the people out the light and play like they weren't there. You know, so there are these things because of the shame, because of don't wanting the interventions, you know. And so you're very correct. So, but we need to have more of the conversation. I want to invite the media, I want to invite the Belizean populace to understand. I'm wearing my orange shirt. It's 16 days to end violence against women. That's usually between November 25th to December 10th. However, at the commission, we have taken on an approach that from 16 to 365 days. And so every 25th, we want to be out there to send that message at least on that particular day of the month, to ensure that people are aware. And that could be because on those awareness and advocacy days, we tend to see sometimes a rise in people seeking assistance, getting help, because they reach to the point and say, you know what, people are talking about this, I am not alone. A lot of times too, people feel very lonely in their situations, even though they know that they're not the only one, but they feel isolated. And
I think that's why it's important, as Dwayne mentioned, to really share the success stories of persons that have made it out. I love that you brought up Tina Turner as a poster of you know, of someone that really got out of that situation. And that's why I bring it back to, it bears no bias.
Correct.
Tina Turner, a celebrity, a beautiful musician, and many other celebrities may be in situations similar to the ones that us regular folk are in. And that's why it's so important for us to have that conversation and to remember that the shame that you feel, everyone, or there are so many other women that are in that position. But I also want to touch on what you mentioned as we wrap up. I've been mentioning this already. You said that there was a convention that said that domestic violence is a human rights crisis. And that's why I believe that it's important for us to all recognize that this is everyone's business. Gone are the days of us thinking that a domestic violence situation is a private matter. It is not a private matter. And that is why we need to do what we can. Obviously, we can't drag someone out of a relationship with someone else, but constantly remind them that we are there for them and that whatever decision they make, we support them with it. Because a lot of times when you go and you express that the situation that they're in are not the healthiest, because they know that you know, they feel ashamed to go back. So now they have even more shame. So I think it's so important for us to constantly remind these persons that we are there with them and that we will guide them in whatever way they need, and that at the end of the day, it's just support. It's the support to make that first step. I'm sorry, we are out of time. We can go on and on. But Ms. Irving, do you have any last words as we close this first segment?
I think the most important thing I would like to say here is that you are valuable. People, you are valuable. You are valued. You are worth it. You know, you are a gift to our society. Our human resource is our greatest capital. And if you are in a situation where you are being abused, where you feel less than, where you feel frightened, where you feel isolated, where you feel unsafe, I ask that you seek help. You start the walk. It's a difficult journey. However, along the way, you may find your strength. You may find that support that you need. You may find that you're doing it for your very life. So please reach out to the necessary agencies. I will ensure that I would send you a list of support that then can go on your page and things like that, so that people could, the word could be around. Because simple as you see it, you may think that there's a lot out there, but sometimes people struggle to find the support, right? So we need to then just do better in ensuring that everyone truly knows where to go.
Thank you so much, Ms. Irving, for your, completely important information this morning. We appreciate you being on set with us, and we hope that, even if it's one of our viewer that took something from this conversation to help them to take that first step. It could simply be a baby step to get out of a situation that is prone to violence, any type of domestic violence. We know that it will be a successful segment.
And they could reach out on our Facebook page, send a message, and then we'll give the necessary referral that needs to be National Women's Commission.
Yeah, and can I just say something? Man, think about your children, because the trauma that your children go through witnessing these things, man, you don't have a heart if you're not thinking about your kids, because they will then become bullies, and it becomes a cycle, it becomes cyclical. Think about your kids when you're doing that. Respect each other, and they will learn how to respect their friends, and when they get older, how to respect their partners as well.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by the Coast Guard to talk about some lighter topics on women.
Yeah.
Don't go away.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere. Satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
I think that 27 dropped tonight, huh? But you think so? Tonight I think that 24.
Now, Belize, you have rice and beans, chips and dip, bolido, and son de la tre. Bolido, that is part of our national identity. And as much as most of we may enjoy it here and there, the bottom line is, one company had 100% ownership of it. And nothing wrong with owning a business, you know. But when it comes to we Bolido, you can't own that and be transparent. You can't report on winnings and sales when you feel like. You can't audit the machine when you feel like. And you definitely can't hide the records under your mattress. But no, that Bolido and Sunday that will be for we again. We will be able to enjoy the excitement and profits of it. And that's a double win for us.
Well, I can't believe the grill pan just hold the grill. Well, don't worry about nothing. If we got a new one, and the Benny's Father's Day Fest.
Oh, that they happen again?
Yes, and this year,
Benny's is giving 19% off store-wide. Yes, 19% off everything.
Why, we have for the bro.
But wait, don't forget, the race is still on.
The Belize 100 car race, the racers will once again compete to claim the top prize and become the champion.
Anyways, look on the time. If you see a great line, if you go.
Alright, yeah, bro. New whip?
Push the start.
Alright, big time. Boy!
Boy, Kagali push the start, man.
The Belize Father's Day Fest, Saturday, June 17th, Belize Superstore. This one you don't want to miss.
Here's your chance. The stage is waiting. We're looking for talented Belizean singers for another season of KTV The Remix. KTV auditions will take place on Saturday, June 3rd and Sunday, June 11th, starting at 9:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. at Channel 5 on Coney Drive in Belize City. We're also now accepting online submissions. 2-minute videos can be emailed to producer at channel5belize.com or DM KTV Remix on Facebook. Deadline, Sunday, June 11th at 5 p.m. Come be a part of the biggest singing competition of the year. KTV The Remix, only on Channel 5.
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Marian Ali, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 police teams do whatever it takes. Go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 Belize on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Because news is now everywhere, all the time. And so are we.
When someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. Channel 5 introduces the Daily Obituaries. The Daily Obituaries will broadcast all death and funeral announcements and memorials to honor your loved one's life and memories. The Daily Obituaries airs on Channel 5 prior to the evening newscast, with subsequent repeats at 10 p.m. and 12 noon the following day. It will also be placed online on our social media platforms, all for a standard package fee. Celebrate their lives and memories with Channel 5's Daily Obituaries. Honor in life and reverence in death.
Welcome back, welcome back. We're in our second segment and we have some powerful
Wonder Women. Wonder Women.
Wonderful women here with us. Of course, welcome to Jasmine Bellini. She's Lieutenant Commander at the Belize Coast Guard. We also have Avis Guidis. She's a participant in the Wonder Woman competition that is currently ongoing at Coast Guard. And then we have Lieutenant Shadi Reyes. She is the Wonder Woman coordinator for Belize Coast Guard. 2023. Let's talk about it, guys. How this whole thing came about. Like, Wonder Woman?
What is a Wonder Woman?
This Wonder Woman competition started in 2016. It started in an attempt to include women, build team spirit, morale, and have that women included within the security forces, but mostly within the Belize Coast Guard. In 2016, we had our first competition, which we only had Coast Guard teams, then 4 Coast Guard teams, and we included recruits because we had an intake. And thereafter, we extended the invitation to BDF, police. Wow. But for those first 2 years, only BDF participated. Then in 2019, we managed to get police as well. So there is where the competition. Then we had a break because of COVID. We couldn't do the competition again. But the competition is usually done in March for Women's Month.
Nice. Okay. So this time around, it's all 3 law enforcement agencies that are working?
Unfortunately, no.
No, it's just Belize Coast Guard and Belize Defense Force. So there's 2 teams from both organizations that are currently participating and doing all the events for over the next 3 days. So they're really putting in some work.
Now, before we get to Avis, the participant, I want to talk about the actual physical activities that these women are engaging in. Is it different? Is it more extreme than the general training that they would be a part of when enlisting in these forces?
So the thing with the competition itself, it is more extreme because while they're doing their training, it's over a period of average 3 months, but for this, it's over 3 days.
Okay.
So it's one after the other. They do get some breaks. When I say some breaks, I mean probably like an hour or 2 before the next event, but it's a lot of different obstacles and challenges they have to do over the next 3 days, and it's very different. It's very grueling. It takes a lot of strength, willpower, teamwork, determination, because you can get tired quite easily and want to give up, as what Guidis can say, because she's also one of the participants, and she did the swim yesterday, and what's the other one that you did? The swim and the APFT, and it's just day 1, and the girls are getting really excited to do the other events.
How many women do we have currently in the Wonder Woman competition? 32.
Yes, we
Wow.
have 2 teams from BDF and 2 teams from the Belize Coast Guard.
Nice. You said, you used the word, Jasmine, you used the word grueling, and we saw that yesterday.
Yes.
It's intense. You know, how do you guys ensure that you know what, you show that how, yes, we're women, but we just as good or just as strong as the men when we get out there and have to do these obstacles?
Yeah, it's increasing in intensity. So yesterday, even though it seemed very grueling, yesterday was the easiest day. And today they're doing a 6-mile run, and in the afternoon they're going to be doing a medley that has to be running around labs with different obstacles. They're going to be having weights and cleats and logs and stretchers.
Wow.
So they're going to be doing all of that this afternoon after a 6-mile run. And then tomorrow there's going to be the march and shoot. So for those persons that live in the Armina Hummingbird area, if you come out early, you'll be able to see the teams, because they're going to be doing an 8-mile march and shoot from Armina onto the Hummingbird Highway and to Gentles Range. And there they're going to be doing, they're going to be shooting from the 125 meter falling plates. So they're going to be doing that. And then the final obstacle, the crucible, you know, the final challenge that tests everything that you have left, that's going to be in the afternoon. And that's where it makes and breaks a team. And that's the culmination with weights, with obstacle course, with running, with teamwork, with ropes, everything. That's going to be tomorrow
So, Avis, let's talk about your experience so far. What made you decide to take on this challenge, and how is it going?
Yeah.
So this is my first year participating due to COVID. I was pretty excited because I've heard so many stories about the competition, and I wanted to get the experience. So far it has been a challenge, but we're getting it done, and I'm I'm pretty proud with the results so far.
What do they win in the end? It is a competition after all.
Bragging rights?
We have different prizes for the different levels: first place, second place, third place, trophies, medals, cash prizes.
Okay.
And then for the best swimmer, best runner, best shot, best team leader as well, we have prizes for those.
What's the preparation like? I'm going back to you, Avis. What's the preparation like? Because you can't go into this without preparing for it.
Yes.
There's Avis on the screen doing her sit-ups.
So the preparation for us is we've been training about 2 months. Well, I think I have been training 2 months, and some of the girls been doing it for like 2.5 months.
Wow.
And because of the short time, we had to put in more workout and very intense, so we don't feel it as much on the day.
They said that, for any team, the team is as strong as its weakest link, right? Let's talk about that. Because it's against, while yes, they're saying it's 4 teams, 2 from the BDF, 2 from the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard won't win. You understand what I mean?
Definitely. Exactly.
Because they host it. Does that give you another pressure? Hey, listen, come on, you have to do this thing.
Yes, it does give us a bit of pressure, but we did great in our workout, so we're gonna execute that in our competition, and we're not looking for nothing less than first.
All right.
Have any of you guys done it?
Yes.
Oh.
Ooh, let's talk about your experiences.
Well, in 2016, when the first event took place, I didn't do it because I was doing in that era I was doing Baker to Vegas run. I did it in 2017. No, not even in 2017. I don't know. I was out of the country in 2017. Was doing my commission course. 2018, 2019, I did it. For 2 years, I did it. It is a very intense competition. You have to be very mentally strong. It takes a lot of grit to finish the competition and to complete each event. So,
Did your team win?
That year, I think my team came in 3rd place.
Oh.
But the Coast Guard team did win.
Did win overall.
And your experience?
Well, my experience is actually a little bit different because when I competed, I was actually in the Belize Defense Force. This was the first year that the Coast Guard invited the BDF. And I was on the BDF team, and I have to say it was very, very intense. The swimming, the running, the medley, everything. Our team did win.
Okay.
Our team did win that year, and it was very close though, because it was the difference between the BDF and Coast Guard time. The breaker had to do with the swimming. So the Coast Guard members are stronger at swimming, and the BDF wasn't as strong. So we had to put it extra at that time to get up to the first place for the competition. But it was a really good experience. I would definitely do it again. Before, I think in 2019, I was a part of it, but then it got canceled due to COVID. So, but when I did it, it was great. I think we competed against each other.
Now you're working together.
She like Coast Guard, so she transferred.
I want to know, what are the reaction of the men watching you guys really take on these physical activities? Are they like, wow? Are they impressed?
I think at this point, because the competition has been going on so long, it's more they're a part of the supporting team.
Okay.
So it's not like, wow, I didn't know. It's they know.
They know.
So it's more like, come on, let's go, ladies, let's go Coast Guard, let's go BDF. So the reaction and the support has taken a turn. So it's less, I didn't know she can do that, or I didn't know he can. They can do that. It's more in the support. So that's a really good thing, because we want to change the mindset of people when it comes to women in these competitions, because we don't have anything to prove, because we can do
partners.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we have to wrap up the segment, but I do want to know, what is the overall message of this competition? To take on these physical activities that are obviously grueling to the body, but to do it as strong women.
Yeah. So do you want me to take that?
Go ahead.
All right.
Each one of you could answer.
So for I know when it comes to the competition itself, it's more about networking, team building, instilling that confidence in yourself to know that maybe there be things that you might not think you can do, but once, like what Ava said, you put your mind to it, you put in the work, you're going to execute and you're going to see the results. So that's what it is, like putting the work in, what you put in is what you're going to get out, and then at the same time, team building, networking, show that we're better together than apart.
Yeah. Avis? You go.
You first.
Okay, you'll be last.
So it is about what Ms. Bellini mentioned, networking. One of the major objectives to network within our security forces. We have police, PDF, Coast Guard, networking, getting to know each other, competing, building that team spirit, and also incorporating our WPS agenda as well, which is equity and equality within our security forces, putting that into action, not just having it on paper as well.
I love that.
For me as a participant, it's big on team building. I mean, without our teammates, we couldn't have done anything without them, and yeah, it's basically about team building and believing in yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't believe in yourself, then you can't get it done.
Yeah.
Your team are with?
Hopefully.
I don't know, like every time, like I'm not trying to trivialize, I've seen you guys do this before in the past. We've reported on this and it's intense. That's to say the least, but it shows that all women and men in the force, they're at the same level in terms of the dedication, in terms of the intensity and doing what you guys do. But I'm also thinking Wonder Woman, and I just think Wonder Woman, Papa, you know, like, yeah, you know. And so I think it just speaks to the strength that you guys have, and that's how, you know what, women can do just as well as men in this.
And I do need to add, for next year, the Commandant is going to be extending an invitation to 2 teams from the private sector.
Oh.
So we are going to be expecting to have participants from the private sector, so he's going to be extending invitation. Next year, the competition is scheduled for March. So if you are interested, you got a team.
You really don't want the private sector to beat you guys.
Get ready.
I would not be proud if a private sector beats the security forces.
Maybe we'll be able to see it as, you know what? Okay.
We have to step up our game.
No, we need to recruit these people into the force.
Never know.
Like, possibly.
We'll see next year. Like what she said, nothing less than first.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I know Avis, and I know that she takes part in a lot of things that involve physical activities. So I expect nothing less than the best from you, Avis. No pressure.
No pressure.
But ladies, thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. We can't wait to hear the outcome. I hope we follow the competition. Day 2, day 3.
2 and day 3.
All right, perfect. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by the Strawn Foundation to talk about the hygiene of the menstrual cycle. Don't go away.
Introduces Real Unlimited Postpaid Plans, providing customers with unlimited talk, unlimited text, and unlimited data. Now that's a real great deal. With Smart Plus, Share 1 and 2, and Enterprise 1 and 2 plans, you can talk as much as you want, text as much as you want, and for the first time ever in Belize, you can enjoy unlimited data with your postpaid plan. So come in and sign up for an unlimited postpaid plan and enjoy limitless possibilities. In addition, other plans such as the Flex Junior, Choice, and Select have been boosted with a lot more talk, text, and data, providing you with the best value for your budget. Be unlimited with Smart.
It's time to power your dollar with Smart.
Your life
life just got a lot less complicated with Belize Bank Contactless MasterCard Debit Card. Introducing our Standard Debit and MasterCard Platinum Debit Cards. Now you can make purchases anywhere MasterCard is accepted with one tap, pay and go. Your contactless card never has to leave your hands, especially in these times. And your card is embedded with multiple layers of security. Platinum card holders get to enjoy extra benefits like price protection, purchase protection, trip inconvenience, and luggage protection, just to name a few. Start enjoying a cashless lifestyle today with the Belize Bank.
Enjoy endless entertainment with NextGen TV, now available for everyone. NextGen TV is your all-in-one streaming app with over 200 channels of live content, all your live sports, news, and the shows you love. Replay and pause live TV. Enjoy premium Belizean entertainment. Keep up to the latest releases and stream high-quality movies and series on any device. NextGen TV is compatible with Android devices, Amazon Fire devices, iOS, Apple TV, Roku, and Tizen devices, so you can enjoy your favorite content whenever and wherever you want. Contact us for your subscription through our dedicated WhatsApp number, 660-7873. NextGen TV, the ultimate way to watch TV.
Here's your chance. The stage is waiting. We're looking for talented Belizean singers for another season of KTV The Remix. KTV auditions will take place on Saturday, June 3rd and Sunday, June 11th, starting at 9:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. at Channel 5 on Coney Drive in Belize City. We're also now accepting online submissions. 2-minute videos can be emailed to producer@channel5belize.com or DM KTV Remix on Facebook. Deadline, Sunday, June 11th at 5 p.m. Come be a part of the biggest singing competition of the year. KTV The Remix, only on Channel 5.
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
And welcome back. We are continuing our conversation on the topic of women, but this time a little bit differently. Did you know that we are actually celebrating Menstrual Hygiene Day? Of course, we are joined by the Strawn Foundation, and we have with us Michelle Strawn Harvey to talk to us more about that special day and what it means to her foundation and, of course, you, our viewers. Good morning, Michelle Strawn Harvey.
Good morning. How are you two doing?
Oh, we're doing great. Thank you so much for joining us. So let's get into the conversation. We are celebrating World Menstrual Hygiene Day. First of all, I didn't even know that was a day. So perhaps you could give some context into what exactly that means when we celebrate World Menstrual Hygiene Day.
Sure. World Menstrual Hygiene Day is May 28th of each year, and it's celebrating womanhood. That's what it means to me, and ensuring that we have proper hygiene for women of all ages. It means being able to provide the necessary materials in order to have proper feminine hygiene.
Yeah. And to put into context, how does your foundation, Strawn Foundation, come into play when we're discussing this topic?
Sure. I believe in March of this year, Sadie Quetzal from the On Paper Consultancy organization reached out to us to ask if we could provide 3,000 sanitary pads to schools in southern Belize. primarily in the Stan Creek district. We used our network and we were able to secure 8,661 sanitary items, not just the pads, but liners and tampons. And through this effort, which was sponsored by someone from our network, Tara Bills and her family, in memorial of her brother, Tanner, provided these items. So instead of just focusing on the Stan Creek district, we were able to help Sadie provide these kits to all of Southern Belize. There were other partners involved. One of the ministers helped out. I believe it was Oscar Rakenya, and forgive me if I'm messing up his name, as well as Belize Queen Freight, which helped with the shipping, and the special envoy helped with this effort as well.
You know, I think this conversation is so important for us to be having right now because it comes on the heels of an accomplishment that was made in the month of April, where of course we were able to establish the removal of taxes on sanitary products for women. So now that we're celebrating World Menstrual Hygiene Day, I think this ties in so perfectly because this is a conversation that should not only be had by women, but men and women, because it's a basic need for a woman. Could you speak more about that?
Sure. I think you have some of the material on the screen and just some of the background for some of the feminine products. It's also called pink tax here in the US. These feminine items, needs for women, were taxed more heavily and more expensive than items for men. So this campaign that Sadie Quetzal is focused on and that has been achieved is in the effort to provide equality and equity for women when it comes to, you know, products, not just products, but beyond that.
Yeah.
What's the role that men play in this? Because I know that sometimes people feel like, okay, it's something that is about women and all of that, but men do have a role that they play in this, right?
Most definitely. Men can be supporters, they can be advocates. Those who are in power can be champions to ensure that there's equity for women, for all of us. I mean, regardless if we're men or women.
Now, just to put things into perspective on a smaller scale, when we're talking hygiene, menstrual hygiene, what does that look like?
It looks like providing basic needs. It looks like ensuring that when we go to a bathroom in Belize, that there are provisions for women, that in schools, we're educating young women as well as young men, and that these needs are being realized and that they're being taught about from elementary school onward.
That was going to be my next question. At what point does the conversation start? Because I know in primary school, at least here in Belize in primary school, the teachers are already having that conversation with students. I believe at standard 1 or standard 2 level, they're having that conversation with students already to prepare them for when they start to see their menstruation. But also for them to realize that it's just a natural process and the hygiene that goes behind it. I'm not sure if that conversation happens though with young boys as well, but I know that for a fact that it does happen with our young girls. That conversation should happen across the board?
Yeah, I think definitely from primary school as well as in the home, right? Because you're surrounded by these people who are your role models in the home, as well as, you know, when you head out to school. So young women as well as young men, I think similar to how we, you know, teach our kids that they need to wash their hands and brush their teeth, we need to ensure that for young women especially, they know how to care for their bodies, and that young men aren't making fun of this natural process for women.
You know, I went to a restaurant recently, and this now, I'm glad I'm able to talk about it because I feel like it's something that should be normalized now. But I went to a restaurant about a month ago, and of course it's a public space, and I used the restroom, and there was a basket available for women to have, you know, sanitary products if it's needed. Yeah. And I really thought to myself, wow, this is where we should be. All public spaces should have something like this, because if you think about, I mean, toilet paper, that's not something that you walk into a public space and you have to have your own toilet paper. So do you think, Miss Michelle, that this should be where we head to, where all public spaces have menstrual hygiene products available to us in the event that we need it, and also in schools?
Of course, I believe that it should be. You touched on, you know, toilet paper, and I mentioned this being a basic need. Yeah. So just like we have, you know, toilet paper in the shower stalls, running water, and soap, similarly, we should have these feminine items available.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I believe so. Do you think that that is something that we could get to? Do you think that that's a difficult task, perhaps, for us to get to?
I don't think it's a big leap. I believe that if we're able to, you know, pool our resources and commit to a campaign such as Sadie's and making a change within our society, that this is achievable.
Yeah.
In terms of Strong Foundation, I know you guys worked along with Sadie, but let's talk a little bit more about the work that you guys do as a foundation and the support that you provide.
Sure. There are several endeavors that we're focused on. On a yearly basis, we're focused on providing high school scholarships to low-income students in Belize, regardless of what form they're in Belize. They could be entering first form or about to enter fourth form. If they apply for our scholarship, their applications are taken into consideration, reviewed by a committee, and then awarded. We're actually opening that up on June 1st for the 2023-2024 school year. We also have social service projects that we do, which include providing masks. Most recently, in December of last year, we provided 150,000 masks along with the Siegler Foundation. We've also provided dental hygiene kits to students as well. Those are just a snapshot of some of the things that we've been doing. A lot of the work is taking place behind the scenes and not widely publicized.
Nice. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Miss Michelle, for all the work you've been doing as it relates to menstrual health. Do you have any last words for us as we celebrate World Menstrual Hygiene Day?
My last words would be, well, one would be to ensure that we're taking care of each other, and that means realizing that we're equals. And I think having this day and celebrating it draws light to that. I'd also like to say, on behalf of the Strong Foundation, thank you for the opportunity to chat with you both, Sabrina and Dwayne.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And we look forward to, you know, how Belize progresses into providing this as, you know, this need for women across the board in public spaces as well.
Yeah, you know, she just mentioned it's all about considering everybody as equals, and I think that was the message that went through all these different segments, seeing men and women as equals. Thank you so much, Miss Harvey.
Yeah. We're going to take our final break, and when we come back, of course, we wrap things up.
Hola, usuario de eCash. La aplicación eCash está disponible en español. Cambiar el idioma de tu aplicación de eCash de inglés a español es rápido y sencillo. Deja mostrarte cómo se hace. Primero, abre tu aplicación eCash. Introduce tu PIN. Toca el icono More en la parte inferior de tu pantalla. Selecciona Security. Selecciona Language. Y luego selecciona Spanish. Vuelve a introducir tu PIN y ya está. Tu aplicación de eCash está ahora en español y puedes seguir disfrutando de tu cartera digital eCash. La aplicación eCash de Belize Bank te hace la vida más fácil.
My Social Security. Your direct online access to all your Social Security information. 360 view of all your Social Security information. Registration services, benefits, contributions, and employer services at your fingertips. Enjoy all the new features with your My Social Security account. Register with SSB. Submission of benefit claims. Submission of contribution statements. View contribution record. Enjoy all your My Social Security feature at ssbportal.org.bz. Social Security at your fingertips.
Sign up for Smart Share Plan and save big. Whether you're a small entrepreneur starting up your business, a student on a limited budget, or a family trying to save, this is the plan for you. With unlimited SMS, calls, and data, we help you save. Get up to 5 lines for as low as $30 per line monthly, only with Smart. Sign up today at any Smart showroom or sales manager countrywide. So get your business going, share more memories with friends, and be ready for the day with Smart.
Welcome back, and of course, as we mentioned before the break, we are wrapping things up after a great lineup of conversations. It was all about women topics, and of course, there's never enough time, Dwayne, we always say this, there's never enough time to really dive into any single one of these conversations. I look back at our first segment when we were talking about gender-based violence, and of course, I do want to mention that while the discussion this morning was on women, of course, gender-based violence is felt by men as well.
Of course.
But I really thought it was a rich conversation with information, and of course, we weren't even able to touch on other topics, as you mentioned, like the trauma that children face. So while we do have a little bit of time, perhaps you can use that opportunity to touch on what you did feel as it relates to that topic.
Yeah, I do believe that if a child is witnessing the abuse of any parent, it can have different effects on that child's psyche. Could it be that when that child grows up, he or she decides that, oh, you know what, okay, that's a norm, someone needs to be abused, be hit, all of that, or does that child then say, you know what, all right, I don't want to be like my daddy, I don't want to be like my mom, and what was happening, so I'm going to change that, I'm going to be different. We don't know what the outcome is going to be. We've seen in the past where people who are bullied or witness bullying end up being bullies growing up and all of that, and it becomes a cyclical issue. So I'm not sure where it goes, but I am definitely sure that the trauma associated with witnessing domestic violence has to have some level of effects on the child or on the household in its entirety. And I believe that it was a great segment that could have gone longer. You know, the conversation could have continued because there are all these perspectives on, you know, issues that need to be discussed, including like we said, how you raise your children, the things that you teach your boys and your girls, those social norms and things like that. I think it's a great conversation for us to continue. Like Ms. Irving said, the 25th of every single month is used to focus on gender-based violence and to just bring awareness of the services that are available where if you are a victim, you can access these services to get some level of help. Again, it's when you decide that you're ready, because nobody can force you to do it. It has to be an individual want that you want to make that change in your situation.
I mean, I definitely want to use this opportunity to perhaps ask survivors of domestic violence to offer their story, because a lot of time it's the testimonials of persons that have survived are the steps of someone that's in that situation to let them leave. A lot of times that's what they needed to hear, to know that they're not alone. It's really hard when you're in that situation to look at someone that perhaps don't understand what you're going through and get guidance from them. For instance, if I'm in a domestic violence situation and you're looking at me and you're in a, more conventional relationship, it's hard to think that you would understand, So getting advice from you may not always feel like it's easy, but I can imagine it's a lot easier getting it from someone that knows what it's like. So I encourage persons that have been in that situation to share their stories, especially right now, to champion, your story. And you never know, it might be the story that really helps someone to get out of their situation, or at least to make the step. I definitely want to go back to what you mentioned, Dwayne, on how domestic violence impacts children. A lot of times, of course, it's the males that it impacts in really creating a generational cycle of creating more perpetrators. But not only that, it impacts the girls that witness that.
Of course.
The idea of what love looks like.
Of course.
And I'm really hoping that this segment touches the heart or the mind of at least one person, if it's a person that's in that current situation, or if it's a person that knows of someone in that situation, to offer yourself to that person. I also want to use this opportunity, as I mentioned during the segment, to have that conversation with the viewers where they can understand that we can't necessarily take someone out of that situation. Our loved ones, it's really hard to see them being harmed, but it's also important to remind that person that the shame that they feel is okay, and that we're going to be there for them regardless of what situation, regardless of what step they take. Because as Ms. Irving mentioned, sometimes it's 8 to 10 steps later is when they finally get out. So really confiding in someone kind of almost holds them accountable, and that's usually one of the reasons why it's harder to leave, because you don't make that step right away.
And just going back to what you said, sometimes you don't need to hear it from a loved one. Sometimes you need to hear it from somebody outside of your circle, because at times when we speak to our loved ones and we say, hey, you know what, this happened to you, you need to do what you have to do, and for some reason you don't take that advice. You need to hear it from someone else, not to shame you, but hear it from someone else to say, hey, you know what, this is not right. And then you would react. I think it's a great conversation, something that needs to continue, especially because a lot of it has been going unreported. People are not coming forward. They're still suffering in silence. You don't need to suffer in silence. And it's about love, like showing people love, and that this is not what love looks like. Domestic violence is not what love looks like.
And it doesn't have to be physical as well.
All right.
But of course, we are happy to have had other conversations that were a bit lighter. Of course, we spoke to Coast Guard representatives that are talking about their Wonder Woman competition. And while we might not all be able to endure those grueling activities, I like to think we're all Wonder Women.
I just think, and it's not to trivialize it, how many of you used to watch Wonder Woman? Huh? How many?
I've seen
it's like that's all that comes to my head, and that strength and all of that, and of course this Wonder Woman competition by the Belize Coast Guard is
they're Wonder Women.
Yeah, right. They're showing that, they can do everything that men can do, and at the same level. And I think that is where the respect is. As you've heard from them, they get the support from their colleagues in the BDF, in the Coast Guard, and it's all about, you know, who is going to win. We have two teams from both agencies, from the BDF and the Coast Guard, competing. This is day 2 of the competition, and you know, it's a total of 3 days. They'll do everything from obstacle courses, swimming, fire range, going to the fire range to shoot, everything they're going to do. We've covered it. We are going to continue covering it for this week.
I look forward to it. I mean, that competition, aside from the physical endurance, the mental endurance, it's about networking, team building, and really believing in yourself, as Aviskaitis, one of the participants, mentioned. And of course, we close things off with our last conversation this morning, and that's because it's World Menstrual Hygiene Day. I didn't even know we have a day for that, but now we will be celebrating it because, of course, as we mentioned, menstrual cycle is it's a female human process, and the need for hygiene products is a basic human need for a woman. And I really think that it's important for us to continue having this conversation. I hope that we will be in a space, as Dwayne mentioned, where there are more progressive, you know, public spaces that provide this type of sanitary product available for women, just like toilet paper. That's needed for everyone, and also sanitary products for women.
Yeah, and it's nothing for men to be uncomfortable about. You have your girlfriend, you have your wife,
you have your daughters.
Daughters, they're going through, they're going to go through their menstruation, and you're there to support, whether it is by going to the shop and buying these feminine products for them, and to ensure that, oh, you know what, they keep everything clean.
You know, just since we're closing, I want to ask our guys, how do you support your women, whether it's your partner, your children, your sisters? How do you support them when they have their menstrual cycle? Do you buy pads? Do you buy tampons?
You know,
want to know.
That's interesting that you say that, because I can remember, yes, when we were younger, they didn't call it pads and all of that. I remember, and I don't know if you guys do as well, or maybe I'm an old soul. They used to call it sandwich. When my mom used to send me to shop, and it said, Dwayne, go and buy sandwich for you. And so when you go to the store, they understand what it means by sandwich, and they would wrap it, and they would wrap it in brown paper bag, and then put it in the plastic bag.
Wrap it in newspaper.
Yeah, a newspaper, and then but they just call it sandwich. You don't remember that? I remember that.
Oh my God!
Right? And the conversation has changed now,
you
obviously.
Know, the trauma I felt in that moment, because I remember as a young girl having my menstrual cycle for the first time and being ashamed to buy a pad. You know, and that's why it's so important for us to have this conversation, because there was a sense of shame associated with something that happens naturally, you know? I can't control that. A woman can't control that.
Well, it's a good thing that the conversation is happening inside the schools, at homes as well. And so, you know, the young people, the kids, they're learning about it from an earlier stage, so that they're not frightened by what happens and all of that. And
I wouldn't even say that I'm having my cycle. I say I have my thing.
I think some people use it as a red flag or something like that, right? But it's okay. The conversation needs to take place, and it's all about knowing where to access. And of course, we know that, you know what, now taxes have been removed from.
We're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah. But of course, we are there at the end of the show, and we are so happy that you stayed with us the entire time. Thank you for joining us wherever you were this morning, at home, abroad, locally, in your cars. If you're already on the job starting the day, it's 8:35. You should be already. But thank you for joining us however you started your morning right. Of course, we have no birthday shout-outs this morning. But if you are celebrating a birthday today,
happy birthday!
Happy birthday to ya! If you would like to send a birthday shout-out, or if you have questions or concerns, of course, you can send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com. But you can catch us on our social media on Facebook and Instagram at Open Your Eyes, BZ and OYE Belize. Thank you so much for joining us as you open your eyes
and start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your hearts open.
Have a great Tuesday.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your